There's a lot of friction in a game like Tarkov. There's a lot of like complexity and things that might not want you to open up the game ever. Quests that don't tell you at all where to go. No map. The weapon attachment system is like, what am I doing? But that friction is what makes the game so popular to its core audience.
There's been a lot of discussion around friction recently. Parts of a game that may not be user-friendly or intuitive, but ultimately add substance and longevity to a player's experience. While the topic blew up after Shroud discussed extraction shooters, it can be universally applied to all games and genres. In Maximilian Dood's analysis, he covered Monster Hunter, fighting games, and even Call of Duty.
Warzone removed the most fun part of Blackout, which was that in Blackout, I don't know how this game is going to go. Dude, in Warzone, you do. You're getting your loadout and then you're just killing people. But the most fun I had in Blackout was taking a shit situation with shit gear and suddenly turning that around and finding victory somehow of some weird gun that I never used. And suddenly, yeah, there's no script in Blackout. That to me is like the perfect example of removing the friction. We're gonna optimize the fun out of this fucking game.
The whole thing's got me thinking about Call of Duty Zombies and how it's evolved over the years. From larger expansive maps and hidden quests, to experimental modes and spin-offs, some changes have improved the mode, others are up for debate. Smaller scale alterations have also been made to the gameplay. I appreciated many of them at the time, and they make sense on paper. But what if some of these adjustments have ended up diluting zombies in the long run? Could the mode benefit from a bit more friction? Despite nearly 20 years of undead slaying, the core concept of round-based zombies remains the same. You start low-powered and build yourself up with weapons, perks and upgrades to combat increasingly challenging waves of the undead, solving mysteries along the way and fighting until you're overrun. With each revision, Treyarch incorporates changes aimed at enhancing the player experience, addressing both positive and negative feedback, as well as community suggestions. Sometimes these changes don't go down well. Zombies is in a weird position, where it's part of a game that appeals to the masses, yet has cryptic tendencies and a hardcore fanbase that doesn't want Treyarch to hold its hand.
Perfect example is this, yeah? On this screen, you see every single item and its value. You don't learn the value as a player. You instantly are told what it's worth. That is a developer coming in and saying, we're gonna remove the friction and remove the complications of like the complexity of like seeing an item and being like, what is this? We're just gonna tell you what it is. It's worth $1,000. That's it.
Wait, what's this? Cave slide?
Do it.
Dude, oh my God. Chat, I'm having a good time. Please know I'm having a good time. I don't want you guys to be mad at me when I comment on things like this. But dude, it spoiled what it was! Why can't it just be a button for 500 points? Why can't it just be a button for 500 points? Why does it have to tell me? Am I old?
We've established that.
Am I washed? I just don't understand. Like, I see a button in a dungeon, and I'm like, oh, what's that button do? And then I find out what it does through a pop-up window, man. Come on. I bet this is really cool. Yeah, this is sick! Like, what the this is awesome! That's actually sick. That's awesome! Oh, I'm so conflicted!
It sounds like such an insignificant thing, but it isn't. Exploring a map and discovering something for the first time is what makes Zombies unique. Imagine a pop-up appeared when you were about to enter the Spider Queen boss in Zetsubou no Shima, or if there was a warning before you tried to interact with the Apothicon blood in Tag der Toten. It defeats the purpose of the mode's clandestine nature. Nullifying discovery is probably the biggest sin of modern zombies. And I say that as someone who still enjoys and continues to put a lot of time into it. This need for constant content and information in live service games has unfortunately infected Zombies too.
Great if you're playing the game for the first time. Bad if you're playing the game for the 1000th time. Because what makes extraction shooters good and interesting is giving that player the knowledge, the tools to like learn the game themselves, figure out what a pack of cigarettes is for.
I'm all for welcoming players into Zombies. New blood is essential for the mod to continue after all. I think directed mode is an excellent idea as it allows newcomers to get a feel for zombies without putting as much pressure on them. However, it shouldn't bleed into the traditional experience. For example, pop-ups, waymarkers, and the guide to Pack-a-Punch aren't necessary. There has to be something that stops veteran players in their tracks, otherwise they'll glide through every challenge without so much as breaking a sweat. Accessing Pack-a-Punch and Shattered Veil is reasonably straightforward, though it might have taken me a match or two to work out where to find both repair parts for the elevator. Instead, I was shown where to go instantly, no thought required. The PAB guide also makes the start of every game feel the same. Yes, you're always going to open up the map and reach Pack-a-Punch, but the illusion of choice that comes with no waypoint prevents the beginning of every match from feeling routine.
Exploration in a game like Expedition 33 feels a lot better. There's a lot of friction in that game, dude. They don't give you any fucking maps. And that was smart because now I was looking all over the place for shit in that game, dude. Loot felt valuable to me because I didn't see the extremely linear corridors that the game has with one or two branching paths. I couldn't see that at all times, so it forced me to have to look for it.
I'd like to highlight 3 specific examples that come to mind when thinking about friction in zombies. Power-ups, Pack-a-Punch, and perks. Max ammo power-up is, and always has been, a beacon of light for zombies players. Originally it only replenished stock ammo, so savvy players would reload before using the power-up to maximise the free ammo. Since Black Ops 4 however, both stock and mag are replenished. While this is a nice quality of life improvement, it eliminates any tension when the max ammo appears. For weapons with a large mag like LMGs, you could lose 100 plus bullets if you weren't paying attention and didn't reload before picking up the power-up. Throw in ammo crates and boss drops, and you really have no excuse for running out of bullets. As the scope of zombies has grown massively since World at War, I'm happy every match doesn't end simply because you ran out of ammo, but I'd still like to see some element of ammo conservation to challenge players every now and then.
I've got nothing left! I've got nothing left!
There's also a slight delay in power-up spawning to prevent players from instantly triggering them. Personally, I was pleased to see this one debut in Black Ops 4, but I do think it reduces some of the danger of the early rounds. In older games, accidentally hitting a nuke in an early round would jeopardise your ability to accrue points. You'd need to think on your feet and potentially re-strategise. Nowadays there's no danger of that happening unless you're extremely clumsy. Since its introduction in Darice, Pack-a-Punch has been a staple of zombies, allowing players to survive longer by increasing the damage of their weapons. Prior to Cold War, you'd need to give up your weapon to the Pack-a-Punch machine and wait for it to upgrade before you could pick it up again. This could make seconds feel like minutes because you're incredibly vulnerable while waiting for an upgrade to finish. It poses players with a high stakes question: do you risk papping mid-round, or wait for the safety of a round change? The waiting time also gives characters time to ponder, delivering some great dialogue.
When I died, I felt nothing. When Dempsey died, I felt something. When Takeo died, I knew I had to try to save them.
Black Ops 6 does have Pack-a-Punch quotes, but they're mainly observations about upgrading weapons and the machinery.
There was a time when our hardware wasn't this advanced. It fucking sucked.
With Black Ops 6, Pack-a-Punch is instant. There's no giving up your gun and waiting. It's a nice quick process, but it removes the stress of upgrading your weapon. This may be to avoid the tedious nature of triple papping every weapon in your loadout, something Black Ops 4's multi-pap system was rightfully criticised for. Still, there has to be a better way than ripping out the threat of upgrading your weapon entirely. Pack-a-punching your weapon is one of the golden objectives of a zombies match. There should be more to the process than just holding X and getting on with it. Perks are a fundamental part of the zombies gameplay loop. Without them, most players would struggle to make it to round 20, let alone complete a main quest. The perk system has seen many variations, including Black Ops 4's controversial overhaul. There's a lot I could say about the various systems, however I want to hone in on one thing in particular when it comes to perks: the Wunderfiz. As zombies matured, more and more perks were created. It became impossible for Treyarch to include every single perk machine on a map. This dilemma gave rise to the Wunderfiz.
Madam, the gentleman over there's paid for this drink for you. What? Who?
The original Wunderfiz operates similarly to the mystery box. It includes all the available perks in the map, and if you gamble 1500 points, you're given a random perk from the pool. Use the machine too many times, and it will go to a different location. Recent changes to the Wunderfish have removed the friction. Rather than being random, the player can select whatever perk they want. Not only does this remove the game of chance when using the machine, it also renders the other perk machines in the map useless. It's like a supermarket putting all the local shops out of business.
They took our jobs! Yeah, they took our jobs! They did!
Black Ops 6 attempted to address this by preventing the Wunderfish from spawning in until round 25. This has introduced a new problem where some perks are unobtainable until the machine is available. I'd like to see the original Wunderfish return, but instead of having multiple machines littered across the map, prevent players from using it for a round or two, force them to visit the specific perk machines, or wait if it's one that isn't included. While we're on the subject of perks, Black Ops 4 introduced the ability to use your weapon when drinking a perk. This undoubtedly looks cool, and aligns with Treyarch's guns always up mentality, but again, it removes the friction of buying a perk. Much like the Pack-a-Punch machine, the player is vulnerable when the perk drinking animation is playing. Take Kino der Toten for instance. The jug machine is off to the side of the theatre staircase in an enclosed area. Your only escape is through the tight lane you just entered from. There's an inherent risk in approaching the machine. If you time it wrong and encounter an enemy on the way out, you need to hope you can fire your weapon to get past it safely. It makes the Kino jug location one of the most perilous locations in all of Zombies. While all of these changes improve the quality of life of Zombies and make for a smoother experience, they've undoubtedly removed some of the decision-making friction that makes the older modes flourish. There are moments when modern Zombies gameplay shines, but at times it feels watered down and streamlined compared to what came before.
You remove the friction, the game is smooth, the game's easy to play, anyone could just click play and just be right in it, but they only play for a couple weeks or a month, and then they're like, well, there's nothing left to learn. Well, yeah, that's because you just removed all the friction. All the friction's gone.
Zombies gameplay thrives when it's a matter of risk versus reward. You need to make several quick decisions in your head and change them at a second's notice. Every purchase, every movement, every kill is a decision that requires the player to make additional micro decisions. All the little intricacies add up. They don't handicap casual players or make the game unplayable. Instead, they offer an incentive to learn the ins and outs of the mode and reward returning players. Removing the amount of decisions can lead to players feeling less engaged, like they're going through the motions.
When games try to remove too much friction, I'm down for controls getting easier and shit. I think that's fine, man. But when all of the game becomes quality of life, then what life is there to have? You are not logging back into that game after a week, bro. Like, you're just not. There's no game there for you to have fun with. There's other games that will engage you more. You know what I mean?
I'm not saying every element of Zombies should be obtuse, mind you. There are times when friction isn't something that adds to the experience. Like Blood of the Dead not having an indicator for where the Pack-a-Punch is. That isn't a quirk that encourages players to learn the game. It's just frustrating. The same could also be said for an Easter egg like Moons, where you're waiting in the correct excavator to activate and hoping for luck at the mystery box multiple times. I'm a believer that RNG is important in Zombies, but Moon takes the piss. It's a tricky balance for developers to strike, particularly for a mode that has been around for as long as Zombies has. Every change to gameplay has an impact on players, whether it's a quality of life improvement or a massive overhaul of game systems and mechanics. A tiny change in the eyes of one player could put a bad taste in the mouth of another. You want to attract new players, yet risk alienating long-time fans in the process. I think the Zombies team does a relatively good job at walking the tightrope between old and new, but there is still work to be done. Reintroducing some of the older gameplay aspects of Zombies wouldn't be the worst idea, especially when Treyarch takes pride in reinventing the mode and revisiting previous concepts to better them. What would Zombies play like today if Treyarch removed the changes I've mentioned? Would it feel outdated and clunky, or restore some of the complexity that many players miss? Even if there are no concrete answers, it's interesting to think about. In an era where more and more games revolve around engagement, monthly active users, and FOMO, it'd be great to see more developers move away from instant gratification towards rich layered mechanics that are designed for perennial growth, Treyarch included. I want to be fully immersed when playing Zombies, rather than feeling like the game is on autopilot.
And he's using extraction shooters as the source of conversation, but I think there's a lot of things that explain why I like the games I do and why a lot of people like the games they do that don't just play themselves for you, dude. I don't want a game to play itself for me. I want to come across those solutions and find those solutions myself. That's what video games are about.
The main thing I hope developers can take away from any discussions of friction is to trust your players. Not everyone will understand everything after just one session, and that's okay. Those who are willing to invest the time to learn will reap the benefits. Everyone wants a fluid experience, but sometimes a pothole makes the journey more memorable, and if you never get lost, you'll never find your way home. There wouldn't have been a Zombies community in the first place had the mode not been full of mystery and obscure but sticky gameplay. If each main quest played out like a linear campaign mission, You wouldn't see so many players going back to them time and time again. Its longevity is not to be sneezed at. 17 years as of Black Ops 7. Still, if Zombies is to continue down the winding road ahead, it needs more bite, more friction that challenges players old and new. The first chalk drawing from Nachter and Toten said, "We must ascend from darkness." Treyarch wasn't guiding us, quite the opposite. It was a declaration that we must face the Horde, round after round, death after death, not because we'd been shown how to, but because we had no other choice but to find a way.